Raptors fans, the day of reckoning is upon us as Reggie and Freddie Gillespie have already been waived from the team this morning. The Raptors now face the impossible decision of deciding who makes the final roster spots. Let's get into it. Welcome Raptors fans, this is Amateur Hour Sports, your source for everything Raptors, from news to mock trades to breakdowns and so much more. So if you like the Raptors and you like content in that style, make sure you are subscribed to Amateur Hour Sports for the 4+ videos we are putting out every week on this channel and help us on a road to 7,000 subscribers. But today we are talking about those final roster cuts that need to be made, and this comes off the back of a very nice closeout to the Raptors preseason with a 113-108 victory against the Washington Wizards. This was a game that I was surprised we won because the Raptors did not have, I would say, their 4 best players on the court. OG, Fred, Siakam, and Boucher were not available for this game, yet still, the second and third stringers come out and do their job against what was a full-strength Washington Wizards team for like 2.5 quarters of this game. So the Raptors bench did their thing in this game. And that's because there was a lot on the line for the guys on the court. People were fighting for their NBA contracts here. It wasn't just any sort of preseason game for the likes of, let's say, Sam Dekker, who absolutely exploded in the fourth quarter and willed us to victory in that game. But unfortunately, we do have to make cuts. Not everybody can make this roster, and the Raptors, like I said in the intro, have made the decision earlier today on Reggie and Freddie Gillespie, which leaves 4 players left that they can possibly cut who are not on guaranteed contracts, and there are likely 3 spots remaining. But let's dive in a little bit on Reggie and Freddie Gillespie. I mean, Reggie, he was just there to make up the camp roster size, so I don't think anybody expected him to make the roster, so not much to discuss about Reggie. It's unfortunate, but maybe he can spend some time in the 905. If nobody else signs him up
for their G League
team, then the Raptors will be able to use him in the 905. And I would like to watch this player because he is young and he is developing. I'd like to see him in the 905 for the Raptors, so hopefully he ends up going there. As for Freddie Gillespie, I mean, I can't believe how quickly he fell apart because he was quite good to end off the last regular season. I mean, I don't think I was fooled into that. Like, he was clearly a good player there, but somehow it all fell off the rails for him after an absolutely abysmal summer league performance. I was like, wow, this guy kind of sucks. This guy seriously lacks talent, but can he just make it up with a better crop of players around him in preseason? The answer was no, and there was just no choice, but you could simply not keep him on your team after that horrendous time he's had in the offseason, which is so strange. It is so strange to see him fall apart, but in the end, I mean, good riddance. He didn't have the talent to make this roster. So the 4 players that remain are Yuta Watanabe, Isaac Bonga, Sam Dekker, and Ishmail Wainright, and they are gunning for 3 roster spots to make this team. So let's get in touch with, all of this players specifically, and then we're going to assess them as a whole if they should be on the roster. So let's dive into the individuals. So firstly, Yuta Watanabe, not a lot to say about this player because Nick Nurse loves this player, and Nick Nurse has basically said Yuta is going to be on the roster. So Yuta Watanabe, if you're a Yuta Watanabe fan, have no fear. He is going to be on the roster, and I completely agree and support that decision. Which leaves us with Bonga, Dekker, and Wainright. And this is a lot to debate because there really is no way of telling which of these guys should be making the roster. You asked me yesterday at this time, I'm telling you it's Bonga and Ishmail Wainright. But then Dekker, according to Michael Grange, goes absolutely full Steph Curry mode in the fourth quarter against the Washington Wizards, which now begs the question, wow, should he actually be on the roster? And yeah, Michael Grange said he's got to go full Steph Curry mode to make this team, and he kind of did that. So Nick Nurse now has the decision to make because Nick Nurse, it seems like based on his interviews, it seems like he was in agreement with me that it's going to be Bonga and Wainright. But now, all of a sudden, Sam Dekker has reinserted himself into that conversation. I don't know about you guys, but I'm taking Desperate Dekker before I'm taking Hoodie Melo or Masked LeBron because Desperate Dekker is an absolutely different beast on the court. But individually, Isaac Bonga, I think the tell for Isaac Bonga is he hasn't been overly impressive in preseason, but the fact that he started yesterday makes me think that there is at least a little bit of belief in him from the Raptors camp. So I think that there is kind of something they see in him. When it comes to Bonga, he is a very good playmaker for his size. And honestly, a guy who is like that size, 6'9" with like a 7'1" wingspan and can play as a guard, who can play as a ball handler, I mean, that's just going to make the Raptors front office and the Raptors coaching staff froth at the mouth to have the ability to use a player like that. So I think the Raptors really like that about this player, his size mixed with his athleticism, mixed with his wingspan and the playmaking. All of these things considered kind of lead you to think that Isaac Bonga has a really good shot at making this team. We can also dive into the statistics of these players. And it's a very small sample size, but even so, let's take a look at Isaac Bonga here in preseason. He averaged 1.8 points, 1.6 assists, 1.8 rebounds in 8.7 minutes a game, and his field goal percentages, 57% from the field. He did not hit a three-pointer, though he did not take many, truthfully. So, for Isaac Bonga, again, I think it's going to come down to him, the fact that they're going to like that he has the size. Plus, at 21 years old, he is by far the youngest of all of the remaining players who can possibly get cut from the roster. So I think that they are going to give Bonga the chance on this roster. But let's move on to next one, Ishmail Wainright. I think that this community and Raptors fans in general have been really big fans of Wainright since we saw him in the Summer League, where he could defend in numerous positions, was a very good defender, and could hit his open threes, whether he be in the corner or, anywhere around the arc. Ishmail Wainright was knocking down the threes. So he's kind of like that 3-and-D player that teams would want to have coming off the bench on some occasions. So Wainright in his preseason time was, I'd say, a little bit more impressive. 4.3 points per game, 1 assist, 3 rebounds, 11.7 minutes a game. His field goal percentage was about 44%, and he made half of his 3-pointers. Again, going back to the shooting that he can display. I found that he's been a little bit more consistent than a lot of the other guys who are fighting for this position, and his defense is something the Raptors are definitely going to like. And I would have said again yesterday that this is his spot. He is going to get this spot on the roster because Utah's getting one of them. So there's 2 spots for the 3 players I'm listing in Bonga, Ishmail Wainright, and Sam Dekker, who has reinserted himself into this conversation with an 18-point performance against the Wizards. 18 fourth quarter points, that is. 7 for 10 from the field, 4 for 5 from 3. In the preseason as a whole, Sam Dekker averaged 5.8 points per game, really no assists or rebounds in 8.2 minutes of action. On the field goal percentages, I mean, take it for what it is. It's because he was so outrageously good yesterday, and it is a small sample size, but even so, 56% from the field and 62% from 3, 63% from 3, actually. So, yeah, Sam Dekker has made this decision very difficult for the likes of, Nick Nurse and everybody else involved. But again, I'm going back to Bonga. I think because he is the youngest player of the crop that we have here, I think that they're going to like that enough to want to work with it over at least a season here. So I think that Bonga is looking at a spot on this roster. And I think that Ishmail Wainright as well. He is a one. Again, I've been saying that it was kind of his spot, but Ishmail Wainright hasn't exactly wowed me beyond belief so far in preseason. In Summer League, yeah, I would say so, but in preseason, he's never really been that wow factor. Sam Dekker was really underwhelming, I think. He just wasn't really given a lot of opportunities because I do believe that Nick Nurse was kind of already in the mindset that it was Wainright and Bonga's spot on the roster. But then Sam Dekker all of a sudden makes it interesting because that performance yesterday showcases, wow, this guy absolutely is a sharpshooter. Defensively so far, I don't know if he's been at his absolute best. And I don't know if that's going to fit with what the Raptors are trying to create here. So I don't know if Sam Dekker, even with that one performance, can necessarily do enough to make this roster. And I think a lot of it may come down to the fact that Yuta Watanabe is here and Svi Mykhailiuk is here. Because for Sam Dekker, he signed before Svi on this team. And we signed Sam Dekker potentially to be that outside shooter, similar to the way we wanted Matt Thomas to be, but maybe Sam Dekker with more height can be a bit of a better defender and fit the team a little bit better. But then we signed Svi Mykhailiuk, and he has showcased to be a fantastic player in preseason. He's knocking down threes at an extraordinary clip. He's a good ball handler, and he's great at taking it to the rim. He is everything that we wanted Matt Thomas to be. And signing him after Dekker, well, that's kind of a shooting spot on the roster. So now we have Yuta Watanabe and Svi Mykhailiuk, who can kind of be those shooters. I don't think we need a guy like Sam Dekker on the roster anymore. As unfortunate as it is for him, I don't think we need Sam Dekker on the roster because we have those other shooters. For Sam Dekker, he was so good yesterday that the Washington Wizards started doubling him, and that kind of ruined his production because Sam Dekker could no longer get any shots off because the Wizards recognized how good he was playing. So even if Sam Dekker doesn't make this roster, I think that Sam Dekker has earned himself a spot in the NBA, whether it be with the Raptors or probably not. I mean, he could end up on another team. The Wizards were doubling him in the fourth quarter. Maybe the Washington Wizards are going to sign a player like him, bring him back to the team because they see, wow, okay, this guy's absolutely a sharpshooter. And he shot 45% from three in Turkey last season. So Sam Dekker, even if it is not going to be enough to make the Raptors roster, he may have done enough to make another roster. But for the reasons I have described, I think that Bonga, for his age and his upside, is going to make the roster. Yuta Watanabe already confirmed. Ishmail Wainright, I think he's solid and consistent, and he's kind of showing shades of guarding the 1 through 5, kind of showing shades of being that guy who can fit the positionless game the Raptors are trying to create and can knock down his open threes. I think that is enough to get him on the roster. I don't think that 1 quarter of good basketball is enough for Sam Dekker to make the team. Props to him for playing like that in his absolute desperation, trying to earn himself a contract. This may be his last opportunity to get back in the NBA. I just don't think the Raptors need a player like that, and I just don't think he's been consistent enough to really, truly solidify a place on this roster. It's a shame that players do have to go, but in the end, I'm not concerned about losing Reggie Perry and Freddie Gillespie, and I wouldn't be so concerned about losing Sam Dekker. So if we lost those guys, honestly, it would be exactly as I would suspect, and it would be exactly what I want based on what I've seen from Summer League, based on what I've seen so far from preseason. So I support all of these decisions, and if Sam Dekker goes, I would support that decision as well. But let me know what you guys think. Who would you want on the roster? Who do you think should get cut from the roster? In the comments down below. So that wraps up for me for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like the video if you did enjoy. If you're still here, clearly you enjoyed. So make sure you give a like. Let's get to 250 likes on this video. And you can also subscribe to this channel to keep up to date with the 4+ Raptors videos we put out a week on this channel. The links beside me right now are the links to the other channels we have. MHR TV is the channel where we do vlogs. I just posted a vlog from the Raptors game I attended on Monday. Go check that out. And MHR Clips is our Twitch highlights channel where we do a post-game show for every single game, plus do other stuff like highlight reactions and much more. Make sure you subscribe to those. Keep it locked with Amateur Hour Studios.